Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen that are tuning in. And for those here in attendance, we will call the meeting back to order. This is a recessed meeting from our last regularly scheduled meeting. I don't remember the date, but it's not important. But at this point, we'll turn everything over to Lance Metzler and Paul Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hopefully it won't take this whole time for us to go through this. We've planned plenty of time for discussion. The first part is you'll see this. This is basically what we discuss every year. We spend a little bit of time on the vision, the mission statement, strategic focus plans. So just looking at your vision, provide the best quality of life educationally, economically, and environmentally. You've had those for many years. You haven't changed those. Is there anything you want to change or keep it the same?
Open the floor up for discussion. Anybody has anything?
No, we're good.
It's broad, it basically covers.
I would also open up if there's something that we have on here that perhaps has been accomplished and there's no further activity or something to remove.
I'll go through all of those. So
Okay.
we'll go through, so once we can just talk about the vision and mission, then after that we'll go through each focus area. And I'll discuss some of the areas you guys have covered and some we haven't covered. And you may want to change those out with some other things.
Okay.
Anything for the vision?
I'm good. Looks good.
How about the mission? Rockingham County government will strive to provide the highest quality of life and the opportunities to achieve it.
Looks good. I like it. I'm good.
Everybody, great?
Yes, sir. Keep
Okay.
going.
All right, so now we're going to jump down to the focus areas. So, on the blue sheet, you'll see economic development. First is create ready economic development sites. Some notes here, we have been working obviously with the Eden, with the New Street Industrial Site Park. We have just recently received over $900,000 from Golden Leaf for the Reedsville Park for a site ready project. And then
Due to a lot of work by Lee.
the what?
That was due to a lot of work by Lee.
Yes, but I'm discussing all these, but
Yes.
like, for instance, IT would be Derek and just in general
Yes.
discussing these. And the Rockingham County Corporate Park West is, so I want to cover all three areas, the Eden area, the Reedsville area, and the southwestern or western side. Those are opportunities or activities that are going on in that area. Is there anything to add to that, or just going on a continual basis with those? If not, examine local government regulations and ordinances. You all did the Unified Development Ordinance in the Land Use Master Plan. Those have been completed. Does that need to be modified?
I mean, I'm okay if we remove that myself. I do think that the UDO and the land use plan will be modified through time as,
Sure.
I mean, we met, I think it was last week, to discuss some potential modifications to that. And that'll happen just as things come up. But,
Okay. You guys okay with removing that?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Continue to explore options to increase the county's.
Sorry, you want to remove the whole thing?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Continue to explore options to increase county's attractiveness to investors, including modeling a program around success in other counties. Just a few, there's some significant investment recently with the assistance of everybody, with the Purina, Ontex, Formina, etc. Broadband initiatives and proactive placement of water and sewers made the county more attractive. But that's a continuing, ongoing basis. I mean, I don't know if you want to take that off. You want to continue to make sure that your county's presentable and attracts other investors. Is there anything you want to modify with that? Okay. Maintain and update the enhancement implementation for water and sewer infrastructure. That's an ongoing basis. I know that we've got Bill working on the water and sewer for that, for the most needed areas in the county, particularly the southwestern part of the county. And we had talked about looking at how we can reserve some areas. So that's a work in progress. Focus on commercial development. That just will be a continual focus. I know that with the development going on in the southwestern part of the county, obviously commercial development will flow with that once that starts getting more populated. Enhance retention and expansion of the business area, showcase areas. We've businesses are featured in our EDC county website currently. We shared post 127 times in 2021. And I talked with Carrie this morning, she's our retention and expansion person at EDC, and she said they're working with several on expanding and working with the state and community college for their workforce. Promote and support small business development. That's just a continual basis. I don't know how you
I
can
got a
really.
question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Trapper.
The promote and support small business development, I don't really know what we're doing other than writing it down. We're not really doing anything to promote small business other than possibly the website but small business is always left behind because the big developers get the incentive packages and all this and small business get nothing. So how can we promote small business other than let other people in the county know they're there? That's it.
Lee's department is focused some on small businesses, and with the COVID money, they gave some money to small businesses. They've done quite a bit as far as small businesses.
Right, I'm talking about helping start up small business, developing small business, get them up and running. I mean, we don't really
College
do
does
it.
that.
Yeah,
The college
Well,
has
so-
a small business.
Right, so should we have this on here?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
let me address that if you
Yeah.
will. I know they do training there to help train businesses to do their bookkeeping and sales and different things. So they assist them with the tools they need to get a business started.
RCC, right?
No.
Oh, economic, okay, no, I didn't know that, okay,
Yeah, they team with this SBA,
okay.
and they've actually done courses and training sessions here. And with their budget to the tourism,
I got you.
they promote small businesses, they promote Main Street, they promote a lot of these mom and pop shops that you're right, that kind of get overlooked.
Yeah,
But they've got several $100,000 budget. that
Right,
they
I mean-
use to do those.
so I guess what I'm trying to find out, Lance, is if I wanted to start a small business, is there an avenue to tell me where I need to go and start getting help?
Yeah, go down to the economic development building and just tell them you want to start a small business. I think Betsy's doing the small business down there.
Okay, that's all, y'all answered.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And you're right, because what they'll do is, you need to talk to these people, you need to talk to IRS, you need to get this. They have lists designed to help you find the resources you need.
Okay, I mean. is
And they
that-
work in
is that on the
collaboration.
website too, or
I don't know, I can check.
I mean, you understand what I'm saying, Kevin, a lot of small business, they contact me like, where do I go, where do I start, you know, I'm like, well, go to the website, see what it's, I can't find nothing, you know?
I'd like to expand on something Chairman said, the Economic Development Committee, back during the pandemic, we gave $1,500 to fund small businesses. Trying to help out, that was out of our money that we raised, that was not out of COVID money, it was out of what businesses put in the pot down there to be on the Economic Development Committee. So there was a lot of attention focused on small business, particularly in that area. And I understand what Mr. Travis is saying, just want to put that out there.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
They've been
Clint.
doing that for a while, I think. I mean, it's not a new thing as far as what they do with economic development. It's been going on for a number of years.
Well, I would offer, why you might have had that impression is, when a big business comes in here, it gets news coverage on TV and the newspaper. When a small business opens up, they don't have budgets for that sort of publicity, so you don't hear about it. But it's happening.
And the towns do the ribbon cuttings, so, I
The
mean,
Chamber of
there's a
Commerce.
number of things that go on.
Thank you.
All right, collaborate federally with municipalities. Obviously myself, I meet with the city and town managers on a monthly basis, and we just have an open relationship where if they need to call, they need assistance with us. We finally gotten back in their rotation. Charlie, after years of not being on their mayor of the committee, we finally got back in that rotation. So Chairman Berg and I have a meeting on February 28th with the mayors and the managers. So we'll hopefully have some lively discussion there. Going to focus area 2, organizational efficiency and effectiveness, continue the HHS consolidation. That's going to be an ongoing process. We've made a lot of headway since we started. I know that Felicia's is maximizing our cost allocation between public health and DSS.
What's happened there in the last 12 months? I mean,
She continually optimizes the use of public health to DSS. So in public health, we almost 100% county funding. When you got DSS, is it 75 to 50? I can't tell you exactly.
But is there, it says continued consolidation. So as far as the consolidation piece, what's happened recently,
It's ongoing. I mean, literally, it took, before we even started, and this is not a good example by any means, but Buncombe County had been working on it for 10 years before we even started. They're still going through the consolidation process. So we find stuff all the time, and to answer exactly what it is, I can't really give you an exact, but I can certainly find out and get back to you guys. But she has done a great job with it. Again, you know, at the beginning, we thought about cost savings. It's not as much about cost savings as it is reallocation of resources, but I'll get you some more information on that. Effectively utilizing county-owned space and property, promote disposal of unused properties. Daymark has moved in with Veterans Affairs and Child Support into the new facility. We've got to make modifications up to the shower curtain area in the second floor of the DSS building. We'll come back to you guys with information on that. We're working with, you've seen Help Incorporated. We're trying to evaluate the best way to utilize that space over there. That building's coming on tremendously. We are also looking into relocating the library administrative facility now that we've gotten some space freed up, or we've got a new person in place that has some good ideas. So, any questions on those?
Commissioner Powell?
Mr. Metzler, and recently I had the opportunity to tour the courthouse, the old courthouse over there, and I know in the sheriff's department area, there's a lot of storage stuff over there, and in talking with some of the department heads, that stuff's no longer needed. It's actually junk, and I think a lot of them were afraid to throw stuff away because of, you know, ordinances and that kind of thing, laws. Would it be possible to direct somebody that, let's start cleaning some of that stuff up, and then,
Right
yeah,
back there.
I was with him, he said.
Yeah, I told him to get with, Amanda's the one that deals with all of our disposal of property. And so he actually sent an email out, was it yesterday? Last week, telling anybody if they wanted something down there to put their name on it, because if not, meaning they are all over the place, we got stuff scattered throughout, that if we can free up that area down at the, I call it the water and sewer facility, but if we can free up that area and put in some file bins and have it just allocated to each department, then that's the route we're gonna go.
And I know we also looked at some areas up here at the Ag Center where the Sheriff's Department has some stuff stored, quite a bit of files, and one room with the old light bars and stuff like that. It looks like it to me, it would be effective to clean that mess up, and then maybe we can use it for something else. In addition to that, can we get some clarity on these files? I know when we were touring the DSS files, I was told it couldn't be microfilm.
Did you get that back from Felicity yet?
I've talked to Melissa, and she's looking at her records, which she can purge. In the email that I sent out last week, I asked the departments to have an answer back to me by March 7th on what they can get rid of as far as furnishings, but also to start looking at their files and what we can get rid of, whether it's purge, whether it's shredding or disposing of it in landfill. So, and I've had responses back from different departments already about what they think they can, file-wise, what they can get rid of. So we're in the process of working on that.
So is it possible that some of those files can be scanned and microfilmed? And that's not necessarily purging, you know, because we could save that, we could retain that for future reference.
Yes.
But it would certainly clean up a lot of the storage space if we could do something with some of those files.
You can make that a goal under this. I mean, if you wanted to add it, it could be digitized county records where, you know, it
Where
makes
you
the most
can.
sense.
Is that,
Free up space.
Mr. Chairman, what's your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I'm certainly fine with that. I do think it somewhat fits under what we've got as far as property management in a sense, because you're freeing up space, which is, you know, we're freeing up space before as we were disposing of real estate we really didn't need. Any of that would fall under that same broad category. And I think y'all understand, I mean, I certainly agree completely with Don that we got a lot of stuff that we probably don't need. And I think
If you
that
walk
fits
down that
under-
building down there, you would see Yeah, you would see medical tables back from the 30s. I mean, it's just 40s, they look old, and we got a bunch of stuff that needs to get rid of.
Right.
So Amanda's the one that oversees that, and so we're gonna actually probably go through either gov deals or put them just in crates and just,
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Hall.
While I agree with you and that it could fall under that, I agree with Commissioner Powell in that I'd rather have a bullet item. I think there's so much stuff there that I think it would help us to create an additional bullet under that.
That's fine.
okay?
It'd just be a focus, more of a
Right.
focus on
That's
that.
right, correct.
And let me ask one more thing. I noticed down there in the old courthouse, there was a lot of desks and stuff, Ronnie, you remember we were talking about that? Is it possible to have an auction, and, you know, people buy all kinds of stuff in auction? I don't know if that's possible or what.
All that stuff, everything that we have in all of these buildings that are minus the files, we're gonna get rid of, dispose of it. It's on gov deals, we usually get a pretty good deal on that because it's, you know, it's nationally or internationally, it's,
That's an auction site.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
That sells good.
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Is that Commissioner Richardson?
Yeah, I think this is the place to bring it up. We've had discussions about the old courthouse.
Mhm.
And I'd like to ask Ronnie or whoever you think is appropriate to make a survey and look at the potential to rent space and turn a portion or as much as we can of the old courthouse into office space or rentable property. I just happen to know, being involved in that myself, that every space that my partnership owns is completely occupied, and to get people in there can help with the other utilization questions we have with the courthouse.
I guess you're talking about the space that's not already earmarked for the mark. So the other places that we've got space on that property, as far as the old detectives building, any
You know,
parts.
that house at the end of the road in there too, is that approved land?
Currently, the child protective services is down at the old house till they modify upstairs up here, then we'll bring them in-house, but eventually it will be open. Right now, the old detective house, we've moved the COVID testing down that way to free up space and over here. So they're currently utilizing that now, but that'll be
I'm
over.
not looking for details because this is obviously a fairly complex operation. I would just look to rent or get some sort of income out of that space if it was feasible.
Okay. All right.
Right. One of the last thing, and when we decide where we're gonna store stuff, Ronnie, if we could take some time to put some shelving in there and organize it in such a way that we can maximize the space instead of just letting people drop boxes off the middle of the floor and that kind of stuff. That's probably not an effective way to use the space.
Okay. All right, implement a new fleet management system to increase the county's ability to effectively manage these resources. Oh, you may want to take this one.
We've tried various ways to do this. We're looking into a software system now. Enterprise, like Rent-A-Car, actually has a system where local mechanics can sign on to use this system. It's kind of like you having somebody to advocate on your behalf with the mechanic. So the mechanic would then bill through this system. We'd get a report back. We'd be able to keep up with the records a whole lot better. We've tried with, I know Ronnie has done some of this work, and we do keep up with our fleet. We keep up with their condition and their mileages several times a year, but as far as like actively managing, you know, who's on the road and that kind of thing, we don't have anything in place for that.
We tried it one time, and it just, I mean, Ronnie was actually the one that was overseeing that one. It just became too, you know, keeping up with the speed limits if they're going 58 and 55, and just, it was just crazy. So,
I think we're trying to find a way to capture how can we keep up, if we can get the maintenance. We already have WEX cards to keep up with mileages and fuel. If we can keep up, get the maintenance, that would be a whole lot easier to manage, so we're working that angle right now.
Verizon has that technology, we use it. I'm not sure what the cost is. We have the cameras too, so you probably work on them. You can turn off the speed limit, the speed mileage things, so somebody's not getting buzzed all the time, somebody's 5 miles over the speed limit. but it is very helpful in keeping up with the mileage on oil changes and, tag. Of course, that may not affect the county as much, but they do have that software available and technology where they still plug in the vehicle and you go from there.
And we do have stuff kind of like that on probably a larger percentage of the fleet than I've thought about before, because I think all of our sheriff vehicles have, that's part of having the AVLs. I know they can tell the speed limits, hard stops, all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
it'd just be trying to roll that into the rest of the fleet.
Yeah. Okay. Proceed.
Yes,
Public
sir.
safety continues to seek a solution to EMS shortage. And I'd like to say there was an answer there, but there is not. It's a national wide shortage. Had the city county managers seminar at the end of last week, and everybody across the state's having the same issues. It's not just us. We did the shift bonuses, we did the COVID bonus, we did the first wave of the 1/3 study, but we're still struggling. And that's something I would continue to keep that on there because there's no answer for that right now. Encourage participation in volunteer fire departments. We have information on our county's website. I think you all did a 411 a while back that most of you took place in. And it's on the website, the PEG channel. I don't know how much more we can do at this time. Is there?
I don't know. Derek.
There you good?
It's just audio home, and I was just,
Okay.
Yes.
Wasn't sure if there was something we had to evacuate for or something. All right. And if you all have some other ways that you see these things that could help us out, that we haven't thought about with the fire departments and rescue squads, please just reach out to us and let us know.
And I would encourage you, anybody who's interested in volunteer fire departments, rescue squads, the fire marshals page on our website has a lot of information on how to do that. It's got that video. That'd be the place to start, I would think.
Okay? No more questions. Moving on to citizen engagement communication. Increase the number of ways to improve ease of access to citizens to communicate with the county. We have improved the quality of our social media posts, leading to a higher engagement with the community. County news stories automatically posted to social media. Paul, any other ways on that one?
Redoing the county's website, which we'll talk about. Actually, that's another one of these bullets, but I think we've made a lot of progress in that over this last year, just having a more professional website and having our social media be more focused and more relevant to what the county's working on.
But if you're out there and you hear other ways we can do it, please let us know.
Who's your primary point of contact, Rebecca? Or
Rebecca. Inform citizens about what we have in the county. Again, that's on the only thing we have right now is the social media and all the website and the social media outlets that we have. And of course, it says enhance and promote the county's website. It's completely done. I don't know if you want to keep that as a focus because it's brand spanking new, or you want to put continual on that and just keep that in there because you always want to enhance and promote your website. Just put continual.
Yes, I mean, that needs to continue to update, it needs to continue to change. I think so many times we do a website and then forget about it, and that's not effective.
I think with Derek and with Rebecca and everybody, I think that they're trying to, that's one thing we wanted to get away from, is it becoming stagnant like that old one we used to have. If no other questions, moving to focus area 5, county appearance and environmental enhancement, continue an educational campaign around littering. New litter pickup program is going okay. The COVID made partnerships challenging. It was very difficult during that time. The blighted properties, we got a grant this past year, I think was for mobile homes. And we're able to remove 6 blighted homes. I think if you remember Tinker was here, we used to get that annually. I think Ben just started that back up. But again, any suggestions you guys have, we're open to it. Seeking ways to enforce anti-littering laws or regulations. We've got continuum beside that because I mean, unless you catch somebody throwing something out of the window, if you got a bag without identifying them, you just can't really do a whole lot with it. Quality life, encourage internships and volunteerism. Again, that one slowed down for the past couple of years because of COVID, but we do a pretty decent job in internships and volunteers over at the animal shelter. Explore recreational opportunities for our rivers. We have 2 that we haven't opened them yet. We are in the process of developing those. Those are Settle Bridge and Planters Road, and recreational opportunities for the river, again, Planters Road. Expand outdoor recreational opportunities. We're, as you know, the last meeting we approved to start the process with Blues Lake Park to do the half a mile with Darva and some of the common areas. Again, economic development, they just hired a young lady that's very good in tourism, so hopefully she'll be able to expand our efforts there and just continue to work with the towns and cities on what their activities are. Promote the expansion of broadband and cellular service throughout all of Rockingham County. Of course, obviously, one, we are addressing broadband, but you may want to put on there continual because there are areas that we're not going to be able to identify in this first round. And cell coverage, again, is what I was just talking about to Derek earlier, is that you drop calls from here to Madison quite often, or here to Eden, and so he's working on a plan right now, but he wants to get one at least started before he can finish this other one.
When he brought up right before this that what the board just did with expanding broadband through the county should open up new locations where towers could go, which may be beneficial because those towers need fiber broadband that's where they get their internet from. So that could start to fix itself as well.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I agree to leave that on, because even now, we're getting a lot of questions from the public. Is my address covered? What do I do to get broadband? Or what do I do to ensure that my address is on the list? And so, you know, we need to address that with future communications as well.
We have a great tool, and we'll continue promoting it, but on our website, what is it, rockinghamcountync.gov/broadband, there's actually an address lookup where you can type in your address and it'll tell you whether or not you're part of the first wave. If you're not, then it immediately takes you to a form where you can fill out information and say, I want to be considered, that kind of thing.
Wonderful.
If you don't have that internet, call.
Yeah, we'll fill it out for you.
So I'll take care of that. Promote a high quality of residential environment. You guys obviously been doing a good job because we've got close to 2,700 plus homes that are currently in the process of at least being permitted or in the process of being permitted or at least discussed. So I don't know if anything else we could do other than just let it come this way. The last focus area I think is the quality of life, promote all educational opportunities in the county. And I think that you all had met with the school boards, I've had a mutual meeting with the school boards and set up a work team to develop a strategy on this. I don't know how, I haven't been part of it, so I have no idea where you are on the process with that, but I know that y'all have established that. So that would be a way of obviously trying to address those concerns. And that is all I have, unless you want some more to add or change for the strategic focus areas.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Don. Sorry.
Well, under education, under workforce development, I'd like to see us add a bullet point for vocational education. You know, I've been an advocate of that for many years.
Yep.
And I'd like to see that be a focal point because obviously we need that. And I'm not sure that that necessarily falls under workforce development or that people really understand what the two are and how they differ or might be the same. So if my fellow board members would agree, I'd like to stick that on there as a bullet point.
I mean, I don't have an issue with adding it. I think we all recognize that that's going to fall more with the school system and with the college. So I don't know exactly.
Well, right now it's following with the college because they're the ones opening the carpentry class and those kind of things. So
Right. So if you want to put it,
more with them.
you want to put it under the Rockingham Community College part?
Yes, under workforce development right there, just put another bullet point under there that says vocational education.
Okay. I'm good with that. Okay.
All right. Next, then, what?
I was going to say, so I'll update this with everything you just changed, send it to you right after this, and just let me know if you have any change.
Yeah, if you have anything you want to change on that, I mean, just let us know. Okay, moving on to significant project updates.
We'll cover this first.
I'm sorry, you've got the budget calendar in front of you. So if you will, look at that budget calendar, and if you're good with that budget calendar, then give us your blessing on it.
It's very much the same as what we've done the past several years. The big ones are the board getting the budget the Friday prior to the regular meeting, so that you have that weekend to review. and then manager presenting the budget out to the public that Monday night.
I think what we started doing the past year or two was not necessarily do it on Friday, but do it the week before. Is that right?
No, so what we've done the past couple of years, we present the budget to the commissioners and the public on a Friday, have the regular meeting that Monday where Lance presents it to the community and just in his presentation. And then either the following Friday or the next week is when the work session is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And this year budget, you'll get a line item budget. It's got everything from A to Z and then some. So whatever question you got, it should be answered within that budget.
And on here it has the week of May 23rd to 27th. That's the week following his presentation.
Yeah.
And so it's whenever works best for the board. We can.
No.
I know in the past, one of our big items has been the school budget. I'm just wondering if the situation with various financial grants and so forth is going to make it more difficult for the school to meet our budget date requirements.
They get to us at the,
Yeah, I mean, their
In
budget
April.
process is such that, I mean, they submit a proposed budget, then it really depends on when the state budget, what happens there. Now granted, this time on the state budget, since they pass a 2-year budget, it should be a little bit easier to deal with. Because this will be the second year of that 2-year budget.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be a matter of things dragging out for a while. But that certainly has presented a problem in the past as far as their ability to give us a final formal budget because they're waiting on the state
Sure.
dollars and figure that out.
and for Don's benefit, for him being a newer member of the board, you'll see a lot of the towns and cities have their budget process, particularly Eden, a lot earlier than we do. And a lot of the reason is because we rely heavily on federal, state dollars that we just have no idea until they start coming out with those figures. But hopefully, like you said, this is the second year, so we should have a better idea sooner than later.
I'm not too concerned about our side of it. My point is primarily to make sure the school knows our requirements. Because for us to proceed is going to be dependent on getting our draft.
Okay?
I believe the date they have to submit their budget to us is set by statute too.
Yeah.
Pat's listening.
It's April, Pat's April,
It's
it's May 15th? Yeah, May 15th. Right, Pat?
Yeah, May 15th is correct. That's when they have to submit it. And typically, that is when they can submit it.
Yeah, we normally get it.
We'll get it May 15th.
Yeah. So if there's no other questions on that, we'll proceed to the significant project updates.
So we don't need a motion for this to accept?
Yes, yeah, please do that. Just in
Do we have a
case.
motion to approve the budget calendar? Motion by Commissioner Travis, second by Commissioner Powell. All in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Okay, now we'll move on to the significant project updates, and I would ask that Ronnie come forward because he's got quite a few to discuss on his side.
And I should point out, these are in order of, in your packet, they're in order of ones that are completed, then ones that are in progress, and they're in alphabetical order, so we may jump around just a little bit as we have Ronnie and Derek.
Yeah, that would be fine. Ronnie?
Good afternoon. I'll start with the one on top of my list was the facility management plan. This plan's in place. It is on Google Drive if you want to see that. I think what was asked for staff was to go through and look at every facility and look at the high-ticket items such as roofing, paving, painting, flooring, those types of things, and HVAC especially, and to look at those projects and develop a schedule of when they needed to be replaced, and along with some costing estimates for those. So that has been completed and is on Google Drive for anyone to see if you want to take a look at it. Now, I have not, we've had some projects completed this year, roofing and paving, and I need to go in there and change those to complete or take them off, but these are all on Google Drive for everybody to see. Questions? The next one I have is the Governmental Center parking lot. This started back in the fall of '21 and was completed around the first part of November. And that was our repaving our entire campus and seal coating, Emergency Operations Center, seal coating Reedsville EMS base, and we actually have some funds left over for that. We're going to update all the signage on our campus here, replace the signs, get those up to date, and get that done with the remaining funds we have left from that project. Other than the signage, all the paving is complete. Governmental Center roof replacement project. So this was the replacement of the roof here on our building and also on Stoneville Library. That project started in November and was completed early part of this year. And we used a silicone-based product that applies directly over the rubber membrane we have in place on those roofs. The product has a 20-year labor and material warranty, which is 2 years longer than replacing it with a new roof. So we
It
used...
must be magic stuff because you finished before you started.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is actually. I apologize for that. Yeah, it finished early part of this year, so... Anyway, thank you for pointing that out. We have some funds left over in that project as well, and so we're going to use those to update the Ag Center roof also with that. And we have POs for that work already out. We're just waiting for the company to start once the weather gets a little bit better. So Ag Center will get, and we had it, I think, on schedule to be done this upcoming budget year. So with those funds left, we're going to go on and do that review as well. Next one is relocation of Daymark, and this would be...
This is page number 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Personnel policy update, you all know we did that last, finished up in May of...
It's completed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the relocation of youth services, veteran services, and DSS staff down to the old mental health facility, which is on our campus, which I think ties back into the board wanting to have these services in a more centralized location, all on one campus. This project started probably early in or late 20. We got started, staff got started with it, and then COVID hit. We got sidetracked with other COVID-related duties, and it basically just got put on hold. It is now complete. We have staff in there with the, we moved everybody, and we have to move, I think Lance touched on this, we have to move child support out of the last house over on Tyree Dotson over to the second floor here, and that was sort of part of this project. But everybody is in the Daymark building that's supposed to be in there. The renovations are complete. We've got a few minor punch list items we're trying to finish out. I know there's a couple of things we're working with Derek's group on, IT related, trying to get those finished out. But otherwise, everybody is in place down there, and that facility is now called Veterans and Family Services Facility. That's the name for it.
What do you lack doing on the second floor?
Okay.
Now that you've vacated all of those.
So what we're in the process of doing right now is we are working with a office furniture company to develop a design for that second floor to maximize that space. And so our goal would be to remove the antiquated cubicles out of there, put down new carpet, and put new cubicles in that are modern and up to date. These would have sliding doors on them, so staff would have privacy when they need it. They would no longer have to rely on shower curtains, updated furniture in those cubicles. So we have a design in place. The DSS staff wants to go and take a look at the product at the showroom. We're trying to get a field trip, for lack of a better term, scheduled. Once we do that and the DSS staff approve the mock-ups of these cubicles, then we will get pricing for that. Pricing is available on state contracts, so it is low pricing for those office cubicles. We'll bring it back to the manager for you all for approval.
And the reason we're not going wall up, floor to ceiling, is because of the HVAC. You would have to do major modifications of that. So it does give the privacy. You really can't understand how they look until you see them. They're very professional. They don't look like the stuff we have now.
Yeah.
One more question.
All right, go ahead.
I'm looking at the 298,780. Some of us worked with Cardinal to get money to pay for the movement of Daymark. Did we indeed get all that money, and is that included in this 298,000?
Basically, as I recall with that, the red tape was so much to get that $100,000. We just said, look, you do it. We're dealing with your people to move them over to the old county home facility, and we'll deal with our stuff over here. It was a...
So Daymark paid it within their own devices?
Whatever they had, they took care of their own. I don't think we spent a dime on it over there.
We did.
We just told them, take care of your own, we'll take care of our own.
Yeah, I'm just interested in getting our 100,000 out of the...
We reduced the scope, reduced the scope of the county's work, and they took it on and they paid for it.
Yeah, Cardinal got wrapped up with all that when they were starting to implode. We said, just don't worry about it.
I think Commissioner Travis has.
Right, you was talking about the cubicles, the new ones you're looking into. I understand about the privacy. My concern is the carrying of voices. How you gonna prevent sound from going to one? Because some of the stuff they talk about in the cubicles are very private stuff.
Yeah.
How are you gonna prevent that?
Well, the cubicles will be better than the ones they have with some sound dampening in them, but we will also, as part of this project, we will propose using sound masking, like we have in our building here on the second floor. And that will eliminate almost all of the voice-to-voice that you can hear between.
If I'm talking to staff, that's pretty much what their biggest concern was, overhearing conversations.
Right.
Okay, as long as you're addressing that. The
Yes, sir.
second question I have is, we're not with Cardinal, right? So are they over there now?
The Daymark's over there. Daymark card can contract with Sand Hills Oil Card.
So Daymark has contract with Sand Hills?
Yes,
Have they changed?
same folks.
I mean, have they changed their policies? Because the policies didn't work before, so what?
I think the
Which
issue,
policies you talking about?
I think the issue with Daymark have changed. Speaking with Felissa, I don't think she's had as much problems as she used to have with them.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's policy or personnel or what, but it's, or just the atmosphere from Cardinal to Sand Hills. I don't know.
If you don't know, citizens would contact them for help, and it'd be weeks before they ever get contacted.
I'm very,
again.
very much aware of it, but I personally think, I don't want to be too free with my language here, but I think some of that was Daymark's fault. But I think more of it was the supervision of Daymark, which came from Cardinal. And so far, there's ample evidence that Sand Hill's doing a much better job. And the collaboration, the coordination, because of individual cases, is much better between Sand Hills, Daymark, and our social services people.
Agree. Felissa used to come over quite often with issues, knock on wood. It's been minimal since we've been on Sand Hills.
Okay, that's the biggest concern. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Ronnie.
Yes, sir.
I know you're talking about the cubicles, and of course, that will be a huge upgrade to the second floor. I was shocked the first time I went in there.
Little Tokyo.
Yeah, and then the carpet, my question is, are there any other concerns or remodeling needs up there while you have all that out that we might could address if we have the money or can find the revenue for it?
I think the only one that Melissa and her staff have brought up are just repainting the walls or the wall system that's in place in other areas. And I don't know, she hasn't said anything about the carpeting on the first floor. I don't know if that's
Well, I'm really just talking about the second floor, because
Yeah,
when you move
no.
those cubicles, you know, that's the ideal
Yeah.
time to do that.
Yeah, so we would look at that whole second floor, we would look at repainting everything to sort of where the cubicles and the paint all match with new carpeting on the second floor. When carpet was put in, as it is now, it was laid up to the existing cubicles, so if we take those out, there are going to be places where there's no carpeting. And so we want to pull them out, replace all the carpet floors.
But you may be looking at painting the walls.
Yes, sir, we would want to do
Before
that,
I-
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've got some electrical and data upgrades too that we don't have to do up there.
So I think I mentioned this for Liz, I don't know if she's talking to you, but again, if we're gonna redo the second floor, let's do it right the first time. So when we say paint the whole thing, paint the conference rooms, paint the stairwells, the
Right.
antiquated, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
And if they need new stuff in the conference room, I mean, it looks bad too.
Yeah, we can look at all of that, so.
I think if we update their area, maybe it'll make some of them, you know, want to come to work more, or stay here more, maybe.
It'll certainly be an improvement, I know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
But one thing, just like he said, networking on a lot of these buildings, the old Daymark, the network wiring was in it, was original from when network wires were put in. So as we upgrade systems, the network can't handle. So we had to rewire that entire building because of the category of the cables that was in it. We're going to run into that same problem with part of the wiring in DSS.
Mr. Chair, this is an informal observation, but I have, knowing the people over there in the whole building, including the second floor, and then going over and visiting with them in the new building, new building over there, to a person, they're all ecstatic, and they talk about better privacy, comfort, less noise, less distractions, and so forth. And so it's certainly going down well with not only the staff, but supervision over there. So I think they still have a ways to go. I see quite a few rooms over there that haven't been occupied yet. So I don't know what's going to happen there. But the people that are over there are really happy with that.
Just to answer your question of lots of rooms not used, that is lack of workforce for DSS. Those rooms, we have with computer equipment and everything, there's just not a physical body to go in those rooms right now.
Yeah. I'm aware there's short some folks.
Any other questions?
Page 8 is on yours, is just the updated land use plan and UDO, and I think we're pretty much caught up to date with all of that. 8 and 9, excuse me.
10 is the completion of the county website, and like you said earlier, it's an ongoing project. We're working on a kind of a new strategy going with the website. We're trying to switch from our social media of being just standalone posts, but update the website with a news story, and it pushes out to all social media. So when you click on the social media, it takes you to the website where the information resides. We're also changing our strategy of trying to drive traffic to where it needs to be. So we had a lot of outdated information out on the website on the old one. We're trying to keep it current and making sure we're staying fluid with the information that's posted. And we're trying to stay away from driving traffic to individuals, but to main numbers and groups and departments, so the processes can work their flows here instead of getting trapped in an individual number.
All right. Ems Shortage.
Yeah, yes, sir. So That project is currently delayed for two reasons. We had an electrical contractor lined up to do the work, and he, I think due to COVID, has lost the majority of his labor force. So we're having to look for another contractor, and then we will need to order the generator at that time, and the generators have long lead time. So this one's delayed probably till this summer at the earliest, we think, before we can get a generator.
30 weeks.
Yeah, it's, we're looking at, we've been trying to keep our generators standardized with Kohler. We're looking at another option of a different generator type for that building. We're just trying to vet it and make sure it meets our specifications, and it's a dependable machine if we go that route. So, but that one is still in progress, but delayed.
Derek, inspection.
This was approved by you guys less than a month ago. We've identified all the equipment that needs to be ordered and sent the seat mounts to the vendor so they can get hardware ordered to mount it to the seats. Once that is confirmed, we will have that ready, and that project should move along pretty quickly because it's a project we're familiar with.
I just want to say thank you, Derek, for the work that you've done in inspection after our meeting. I believe that system is now up and working, and the notification part of it to the general contractors after their inspections have been done is also in place and working. Thank you for that.
Ron, Conway.
Yes, sir. So the planning board approved the special use permit at their meeting in January, and we have released the RFQ for design services for this project. Those are due back next week on February 16th. We have a committee already established to evaluate those RFQs and make a recommendation to the board for design services for that project. So we will be coming back to you as a board here very soon once we get those back, make a recommendation, and move forward with design for that. And there's a timeline here for construction and for completion of that.
And I just want to thank Commissioner Hall for kind of being the one to push that and get the ball rolling.
Derek, broadband.
Broadband, as you know, we signed the project this past month. We have our first meeting with the construction on February 18th. So that'll be when I meet the staff. We've actually already heard word from citizens that they are out doing surveying already in some of the areas that we know are going to be part of this project. As part of the communication through the website, thus far we've had 61 successful address searches. So as people that have searched that are part of this project, 27 are in what we call research status, which means that they were not part of the list, and we have to determine why they were not part of the list. Some of them we discovered we are going to be included. Their address didn't make it, and some are distance off the road where they already have access to internet, but they're a mile off the road, and then others we just got to figure out. And then we have 6 people that have searched that are part of another grant already active in the county. So we are seeing 2/3 of the people that have contacted us are going to receive internet as part of this project.
Phone system.
Phone system, that has been a beast of a project. I think we talked with Amanda, and we had 31 vendors respond to the RFP for that. That is the largest in the history of projects here. So we had 31 projects that we had to go through. We narrowed it down, and we are actually down to 2. And we have sent out a request for them to basically bring us equipment, and we're going to do a proof of concept. One thing about a phone system is when we started this, it was the traditional handset at every desk, and that's the model. And every proposal we're seeing and everything we're going forward is probably going to switch where we're going to do soft phones where you can talk through your laptop, just as Pat is today. Or we can transfer your county phone to your county cell phone, and you can call from your county cell phone masked behind your county number. So a lot of transition, so probably less hardware up front, but more reoccurring costs, but it is going to be a lot more efficient for us to use as we move forward with that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is going to be major. This is going to help us in a lot of ways with making sure that we have, citizen traffic coming in and getting where it needs to be and make sure we don't miss calls and that kind of thing. This is going to be a huge improvement.
So you'll be able to transition with any of the phone systems we're looking. You can go between your computer, your cell phone, and your desk phone and switch, and no one ever know you switched it. So that's the direction we're going with this.
Okay. EMS, MDT?
This project is starting to, we've got all the hardware in except for one piece that will not stop us from mounting equipment yet. We have all the accounts and all the users set up and identified as of this morning from EMS. So we are ready to start scheduling the mounts to go into EMS vehicles and move that.
Ronnie, water tank 65?
Yes, sir. If you've noticed, we have a brand spanking new logo on the water tank on the Sylvania Road, intersection of that and 65, 68. The contractor's finishing up some of the line work. The tank will have to be cleaned and then water put in and tested and certified. But we're probably about a month to 45 days from it being operational. So it's getting very close. It's ready to go. So.
Okay. Software, IT, finance, HR?
So this will be a new request for us this year. This is one that we're looking to potentially use some of the funds that we have coming down for us to use to replace our finance and HR system. We kicked this can around for several years. It is not meeting the needs of our finance and HR department. It is stopping us from doing electronic timekeeping. It is stopping us from doing electronic document management through the system. We are stuck in the version that we're on. After 3 attempts from the company, they're unable to upgrade it because of how far behind we are on getting the upgrades. So we are asking potentially to look at new products with a modern platform of the traditional server downstairs. We're trying to go to cloud-based, which is more nimble, and we're also looking for products that are already used in this state that abide by the rules and regulations ran by this state. That's one of our biggest problems with Central Square, is we're the only player in town using it, so we cannot, everything is custom. They have to write it for us and change the rules, and it costs, and it is painful to use and to get data out of.
When was that put in?
Original product was put in 11 years ago. So the life cycle, again, when I came here 5 years ago, I can say that we've given it every effort we can, and it is time to change directions.
And our goal is to make sure that in whatever we go with next, we won't get behind it. Will automatically update itself, so we're not where we are now, having to spend $1 million.
And the reason we got behind on upgrades was prior to me getting here, we never implemented HR, so we couldn't upgrade finance because HR was never implemented. When we finally got HR implemented, for us to change our reports and to change everything, their product line had changed, and it was basically we were going to be introducing a new product. So there's not an upgrade.
How did we end up with a unique system? Is it just the age, or is it just a bad decision 11 years ago?
Probably a combo. I mean, it was the system was, we were part of that system, I think, before maybe?
They purchased this company that is using the software version, purchased the company that we were using, AS400 version.
That's right.
And then they required you to convert over, and we were the only one that converted over and went with their new product line.
And it kind of got diluted through time with it changing companies after companies after.
Since I've been here, it's changed 5 times.
Well, and so also didn't One Solution or SunGuard, they owned our CAD at the time, which was fantastic, the computer-aided dispatch for 911, and it's a great product. It's just they ventured into this world, and it hasn't worked out for anybody.
Because we still use Central Square today for everything on the jail management, mobile management, and 911 is all Central Square today. And it is current as of last week on the latest updates they have. We've been able to stay current with that. That's their core product. This is not their core product.
When I asked Pat and Stephanie, just to be prepared if they wanted to say anything. Pat, do you have anything for this one?
Pat, you awake? Pat?
She You
Have to
got it.
unmute, I forgot to unmute, sorry. Yeah, I agree with everything Derek said. We have given it everything we've got to give to the system. We have invested a lot of time, sweat, and tears in it. We cannot get it settled out to work well for us. I think for the future of the county, I think just cutting our losses now, it's really not even losses. We've used that system for years. I think for the future of the county, it is time to change directions on our financial reporting system and go in a direction that hopefully will serve the county better going forward. And the product we're on now is not it.
Stephanie, anything to add?
And all the things that they said is exactly, I mean, we all feel the same way about it, but one thing that we have all talked about as well is whatever we do go with the next time, it needs to be North Carolina based and something that other counties are using so that we all have our resources and training that we can have together so that it's not building it as we go. It needs to have already been built for someone else and work.
It is, I think it's a unique strength that you have a lot of staff that were here for the first conversion, if this is approved to be here for this one, because you learn a whole lot going through that first conversion. And all too often, you know, the people who were here were gone. So Stephanie was originally here, so was Pat. So I think that's going to be a big asset.
All right, health check-in.
So the public health check-in, this has been a long time getting to this process. Several years ago, we started with an iPad to do a proof of concept, and we used in-house resources with the iPad that we had, and it proved it worked, was able to notify and increase the flow through a couple of different director changes at public health. The product kind of jumped down the road a little bit, but this is a kiosk that is designed to run out in the front lobby of the public health. It is built to be not tamper-proof, and address a lot of the hardware problems that we have today with the iPad. The software, you're free to go after and during the break and touch over here, is an in-house built product. It is basically running a web page GUI through here that comes up and asks you what department you're here to see, and the questions necessary to get started in that department. Once it goes through that, it sends notifications to those departments that they have a patient out front, and or if it's dental, it sends them upstairs and tells them where to go and gives them directions. Through this model, we have reporting, so we can figure out how long our wait times are, where there's problems, where there's bottlenecks, and then we can even build notifications. If there's a wait time too long, it can notify others if necessary.
So the customers would.
For the customers.
And that's also, once we test this here and it goes accurately, we'll put it over into community development and a lot of other departments so they could be more.
Mark, you went with local county to oversee that one, look at that one time, didn't you? Yeah. It's a good model. I'm glad we're finally there because it took a long time to get there.
Derek kind of glazed over this a little bit, but that was designed in-house from one of his staff instead of purchasing a very expensive software product. And what's nice is that now we can customize it for whatever we need. We can move it departments, all those types of things without having to deal with the headache of a canned product.
That's awesome.
And the nice thing is we completely brand it and logo it however we want because it's all in-house.
Can he build that system?
Social service.
Who's your software developer?
Tim Marshall, he sits up here in Ronnie's area. He was a recent hire in our last budget cycle to help us reports, and he brought a skill set that we desperately needed here, and has actually wrote several applications that has been beneficial. He's wrote integrations with the Sheriff's Department, which has saved us substantial vendor costs.
Definitely praise him.
Ruth, I guess you briefly talked about that.
Yeah, DSS roof is going to get retrofitted too as part of the roofing project. The PO, we already have the PO in place for that. We're just waiting for good weather for the contractor to start. So it should be done in the next 30 to 45 days, I would expect.
And then we'll jump over tax rebate. We've got Mark here to talk about that. On page 23 will be the last of the project will be Derek on the tracking system.
In the track it system, as we said, we've made a lot of progress in the last month. It is out for the public, for the contractors and developers to use. We have a training session set up next week, and the following week We have a total of 10 people signed up for those training sessions already. And then the credit cards accepted online is in test right now. We're hoping to move that through test and into production as quickly as possible. Once that is finalized, we're going to then revisit the department and try to go through their processes and see if we can make anything more efficient and electronic, or put any application processes online that were not addressed in the first round.
Yes, sir.
You said you've got training sessions. Is this for staff or for the public?
This is for the public.
So can you tell us when that is again?
We have one scheduled on the 9th at 3 p.m. here at the Gov Center in the large conference room, and we have one on the 16th at 6 p.m. again in the Gov Center. And that notification was sent out to every contractor that is active in our system today.
Okay. Very good. You got it? Okay, good.
Thank you.
Well, you can't use it.
That's all the projects we have as of today that we're either working on, complete, or in progress or complete. If there's anything else that you want us to be working on as far as projects, then we'll discuss that at the 4:30. We're in discussions. Basically, 4:30 to 5, whenever that time is that you all give us direction as far as what you want us to see to kind of be working with for the budget process. But I've gotten out. There's no other questions. I'll excuse these gentlemen, and then we'll get Mark McClintock up here for.
Tell your staff, thank you. Ronnie, yours.
Good.
too.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Mark. Thank you, Steph.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I have quite a bit of information for y'all in your packet, but a lot of it's meant for you to take with you for reference. It could be questions you can get from taxpayers. So I'm going to go over very briefly the main things we're seeing for the upcoming fiscal year. Starting with real property, building permits for 2021 were up overall about 2% from 2020 in numbers, but we were up 16% in stick-built houses. Of the 382 main structures, and my building permit numbers are both the cities and the county together, since we do them all. For residential construction, we had 229 single-family homes. We were about 190 some last year, 31 modulars, townhomes and duplexes, 45 double-wides, and 68 single-wides issued in 2021. For commercial construction, we had upfits to some existing buildings with 7 commercial non-exempt buildings and quite a bit of activity in industrial. We've got a major upfit at Purina, the construction of a new building at Ontex, Ameristate Holdings, which is a former Pulaski Furniture building, is being upfit for Bitcoin. Ruger and the former Blow Mold Solutions are being remodeled. The slab was also down for the new shell building near Ontex. So quite a bit of industrial going on. For deeds and plats, we're up 5.5% of the deeds and plats that affect real estate that we work in land records. 4,575 over the 4,337 we had last year. Sales ratio is something we've been paying a lot of attention to in the last couple years. Since 2011, we've had a lowest sales ratio of 91.52% in 2021 compared to, in 2016, our highest, 105.2%. This is the ratio of sales to the tax values. Based on all types of property throughout the county, commercial, residential, industrial, randomly selected by the state. Our current sales ratio, based on the sales that we qualified through September, will be probably between 75 to 80%. The sales files that we keep ourselves indicates that property is still selling higher than tax value from our 2019 reevaluation. In 2020, the average sale price for new homes, this is newly constructed, was $271,000 compared to $301,000 through September of 2021. The average assessed value in 2020 of those homes was $246,000 compared to $241,000 through September of 21. So we've got consistency in the tax values from what we established in 2019, but you can see the sales of these new homes are increasing in price. For the reappraisal of real property for this project, our last reappraisal was in 2019, which netted the county approximately 4% increase in real property values. The 2024 will reflect the January 1, 2024 market, and from what we've seen in the last couple years, that's too far away for us to even predict right now. Pioneer Appraisal, the company that we contracted with, they have started the field collection data and analysis of our sales and our schedule of values. They started in the Williamsburg area. They've done probably about 450 so far in that area. Residential property sales remain strong. Commercial, industrial values appear stable. And as indicated by the sales ratios, the sales are higher than our 2019 schedule. We've not seen COVID-19 impact sales negatively at all, but it does look like our published sales ratio will be below 85%, probably below 80% for this year. This means that that would trigger in 3 years by statute a mandatory reappraisal. That would be 2025. So it's a good move that the commissioners have went ahead and advanced it to 2024. And this gives us time to do a good reappraisal. But these sales ratios, I really don't know where they'll shake out in the next few years. Even if they stabilize, they're unlikely to drop significantly, if at all. I have a little bit more information on how these impact the public service companies just a little further in. Business personal property can have large swings in value because of the additions and deletions of business property. We won't have final figures on those till April 15th. Most large businesses get extensions. We hope that new businesses and industries can offset some losses that we're still seeing. We're going to have increases with Ontex, Sturm Ruger, former Blow Moldings, Harbor Freight, and we probably will have some personal property listed through Perina. We're going to have a very small loss due to the way the statutes have changed how we tax UTVs and ATVs, but that's not significant. For our major industrial changes in closings, we try that again. Former Commonwealth and Pulaski, we expect to see some decreases in their personal property, but once again, we do have some other businesses in industrial where we hope to see an increase at least so that we break even with last year or do see an increase. For public service companies, the 2022 public service company values won't be available until September of 2022. For the last few years, we've been very fortunate to have significant increases in value between Pipeline and Duke Power. Last year, we were about $940 million of assessed values in public service companies. That was over $30 million the previous year. The North Carolina Department of Revenue tells us to never rule out a reduction in public service, but they have remained stable for several years. Two things we wanted to bring to your attention, and we've been bringing this to y'all's attention for a couple years. Next year, for 23 and 24, not this current budget year, the public service company values are tied to the sales ratio. So if the sales ratio in 2023 drops below 90%, the public service companies are equalized. Their value is adjusted to that sales ratio percentage, and we will experience losses if we continue to see our sales ratios drop. It's the fourth year of your reevaluation is when these companies are equalized. And that too was significant in the decision to advance this reappraisal to reduce the years we would lose revenue. A 20% reduction, if our sales ratios go to 80%, we'd lose $188 million of value if you use our current $940 million of value of the public service companies, and that equates to about $1.3 million in revenue at our current tax rate. If we went to 70%, just as an example, that's $282 million of value, $1.96 million. And we would have kept having that reduction until the next revow had we kept it to 2027. So this does not affect 22, 23, but it's something that we've been discussing for the 23, 24 so that we're prepared for that 1 year of probable equalization. Registered motor vehicles have remained stable and actually have increased in the last few years. I looked at the totals through this fiscal year, December 2021, and they appear to be stable, but the motor vehicles are a real volatile market right now, but they still have increased for the last 3 years. Last year, it was about $900 million of value in these motor vehicles for the county. Our collection percentage for the 2021 tax year was 98.43% compared to 98.38% the year before. We remain close to the previous year's collection rates right now. As of January 31, we were at 93.88%. I'm sorry, 93.57%. We were 93.88% last year, so we're remaining consistent. We don't know if COVID could have an impact on this, but it has not impacted our collections so far. And on the final notice and delinquent notices that we just sent out, 9,600, we do include verbiage that if they have had issues due to COVID, to contact the tax department. We only have Aaron's Rentals currently as a non-reevaluation formal appeal. They've appealed throughout the state. We have an attorney. This is at the Property Tax Commission right now. Since we've written this, we've received notice that they have dropped the appeals for 3 years. So there will be about 37,000 outstanding on the appeals that are still at the state level. But we should get about 13,000 from 2019 here soon. In summary, last year we were approximately $80 million for real property growth. We expect to be 50 to 80 million this year with the building permits and with Ontax and Parita. It may be more, we're not sure. We hope that business personal property values will remain stable. Public utility values won't be certified until 2022, but we expect some stability with that. Registered motor vehicles, we hope to remain stable with possibly some growth, but it is a volatile market. Our collection percentages, we don't see any reason they would be reduced. We always strive to be a little better collected each year, a better percentage. Of the attachments that I've got with your packet for kind of future reference, I've got the building permits for the cities and county going back to 2002. This shows you 2 complete revow cycles and where we're at now versus then. Hopefully with the new subdivisions coming, this could get very large and be even more than our booming years of 04 and 05. The North Carolina Department of Revenue sales ratio is something I was discussing with you. I've got 2 full revow cycles here, right up to now, our estimations, so that you can see the trends we see with our economy and the real estate market as it compares to the tax values. I have the deed and plat numbers here and the information I gave you on the new home averages that y'all might want. The next 2 pages are real and personal property of businesses that have either closed, left, or are coming so that you could see trends, if you're asked or for reference, of the personal property values mainly that have changed with businesses leaving or coming. We started this with, of course, Miller Coors, and then we've seen the impact with Commonwealth, Ball Metal, and several other businesses down through the years. So it kind of gives you a little bit of history of some impacts that closings and constructions have made. The very last page, this is information that's taken from a state report we do each year. It gives you from about 2011 up to current, and it has your real, personal, motor vehicle, and public utility values as a reference in case you want to look back at the history. We always, of course, have more detailed information in the tax department if you have questions. That's all I've got. If you have any questions about the tax year coming up.
Any questions for Mark?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mark, very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, continue.
Anybody need a break? Good to continue with Pat at this point? Everybody good to continue on? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Are y'all good?
Yes, sir.
And Jennifer?
Pat, you on there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, and this is what we'll go over next, the final document that you have. Pat, they've all got a copy of what you had given me.
Okay, thank you. So this is the annual financial forecast, like we discussed in here, very early. It's based on our activity that we've seen for the first 6 months of the year, and just baked into it some of the assumptions or the known pressure points that we know are coming up for next year, just to get a first blush at what things may look like. Like I said, we don't have any requests from departments yet, so it doesn't include any type of new personnel, new positions, new big capital, anything like that we don't normally do. So this forecast shows that we can continue on with the same tax rate without making a change to the tax rate to continue funding the things that I have assumed in this assumption, in this forecast. So the big assumptions, I'll just kind of go over things that are baked in here. Expenditure side includes an overall 3.5% in salaries and benefits. That is made up of assuming a 3% merit is awarded throughout the year, which would be a 1.5%. If they're awarded on the anniversary date, it would even out through half the year to 1.5%. Plus also a 2% cost of living adjustment. So that's what that would look like if we did that. No, like I said, there are no new positions included in this, so we don't have those requests yet from the departments. It also includes $500,000 to finish the funding that's needed for the compensation study that's underway. That was originally intended to be a 3-year study. We're doing the 2 years at one time, but this would be that 3rd year funding that would be needed to fully fund it.
And Pat, make sure that's clear. It's not for the study, it's for the implementation of the study.
Correct, yes, absolutely. We do know that the local government retirement system is going up on their retirement rate. That's going to be an estimate about another $180,000 added to our budget to cover those increases and this is on the employer side only. They are not changing the employee's deductions, which is typical. They usually just go up on the employer side. Included in the operating expenses is a 7% increase, and that's based on the current December consumer price index of 7%. Debt service is based on the change that was made in the CIP tax rate last year. Debt service is covered by that CIP tax rate. Water and sewer fund debt service, I still have that contribution from general fund going over there in this forecast until we can really see how the changes that have been done in that water sewer fund are going to impact their expenditures and revenues.
But Pat, that has drastically dropped over the years, correct?
Yes, it does continue to drop, and I think with some of the changes that have been made in the last couple of years with the service organization, handling repairs and maintenance, I'm hoping that's going to reduce costs, plus this new developments that are coming on hopefully will bring more revenue. This may drop off sooner than we expect, but this is still has it in there until we see that develop. Capital outlay, there's no significant changes in our normal pay-go capital outlay that we do year over year. Now, what is added in here are just some assumptions under consideration by the board in the future. The software system that we talked about, I put in $750,000 in there to try to start funding that. Facility upgrades, I think there's been mention of that in the past, having some money set aside every year for facility upgrades, just keep everything moving forward.
Pat, just pause on that. So that is Charlie had kind of spearheaded the discussions on this. So we've created for all of our facilities. I wish Ronnie was here because you'd asked us 2 questions, Charlie, and he had those answered. But basically what it is we've gotten a list of all facilities we have, and we did a cost, and you guys were part of it last year when we talked about the HVA system, when they replaced the carpets, the paint, all that stuff. So that money's going towards trying to implement that process. Keep
Okay.
going, Pat.
Yes, in addition, the firing range, we've set aside $500,000 for the firing range that's under consideration as well. And these are just holders of information of monies. These will be decided upon your budget deliberations going forward and what's requested and what you ultimately decide. These are just placeholders to give you an idea of what we might could do. School expenses, I'm assuming that those are going to stay the same, that there are no changes in this forecast from what we get adopted in the 22 budget. The Article 46 for the RCC project is estimated to be $2,950,000 for 2023. We do expect to issue that debt. It looks like we're going to be in the May timeframe, May 2022. So once we issue that debt and those debt service payments are known, we will withhold those debt service payments on an annual basis from that allocation to RCC, and the county will pay the debt with those funds. Also in this forecast is a $200,000 to start building up for the next tax revaluation to get on that cycle to consistently have money set aside over the 8 years to have funding available when that time comes. On the revenue side, revenue assumptions, overall tax value increase of 1.5% over the 22 billed values. That would generate a penny on the tax would be around $801,000 if that holds true.
Hey, Pat, can we pause if the chairman doesn't mind for 1 second? Are there any questions on the expenditure side of the house that she's talked about so far? And I have Ronnie. Ronnie was going to talk about what Charlie had asked me earlier about. I apologize.
Okay.
Go ahead. Okay. So, gentlemen, we currently, we have 481,181 square feet of buildings to maintain. And so in our budget, in the maintenance budget, we have two categories for building repair. One is covered as under just Governmental Center, build and repair, and the other one is for RCJC. The one for RCJC is specifically for that building, and the one for Governmental Center is not only for Governmental Center, but for all other buildings. And if you total those two together, and this is last year's numbers, the build and repair budget was $187,408, and that equates to about 39 cents a square foot. Now, with that said, there's also a category in those two budgets called service agreements that handle things like elevator inspections, cleaning, those types of things that are also done as maintenance items for the buildings. And so that total for both budgets last year was $317,245. So if you combine that with build and repair, it equates to $1.05 per square foot for the buildings. And there's also one or two additional categories too that apply to this is capital and capitalized capital in those two budgets. And last year, that number for those two combined was $2,029,808. A lot of that we talked about earlier with paving, roof repairs, those types of expenses. Those are things like replacing heating and air units that we replace. All of those fall under the capital or capitalized capital category. So that the capitalized capital last year was a bit of an anomaly because we had the roofs and the paving got added in. That number is typically not, that number last year was 1.9 million. It is typically not that high. So, but it totaled just a little bit over $2 million. I hope I answered your question.
Well, you did, and I'm glad to hear that we are at least getting $1.05 per square foot. I know a lot of private companies do $2.50 or $2.
Yeah.
I would like to see us try to move to get more money either in the capital or reserve for replacement account, so that we truly get a more accurate picture of our general fund. It concerns me that folks may think that we're building up extra money when we have these maintenance items that are going to come up.
Yes.
The carpet's going to need to be replaced, asphalt needs to be replaced, a roof needs to be replaced. So, I just want to be sure we're getting an accurate accounting of these monies set aside. And so hopefully we'll be able to see that increase a little bit this year in our set aside for the CIP.
And we'll have those items that did not get covered this year that are scheduled to be covered in the upcoming budget. We'll bring those back, but probably a lot of them will fall under capitalized capital items as a budget request to you all. So we'll have those coming forward along with our normal maintenance requests and things.
Very good, thank you. Yeah, you did answer my question, thank
Good.
you.
Okay.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Richardson.
This may be in the wrong place. We talked about personnel in the maintenance department, specifically an assistant to you. Is that ongoing?
I'm working on it.
What?
I'm working on it to bring to the budget.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that discussion?
You're talking about succession planning?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ronnie?
Any other as far as expenditures? And again, this is like ground zero. This is like taking nothing into account whatsoever other than what the projections are. So everything would change during the whole process. It get a lot more tedious when we start meeting with the departments and flushing it all out. This is where we are at the very surface.
I'm glad to see that we're doing that $1.05. I think that's a good start. I think it needs to be a little more, but
According to Google, it should be. I was waiting to see what Commissioner Burke did. I said, I looked it up after Lance asked me for the information, and you're right. It goes anywhere from there from $1.50 to $2.50 on there. So I think it depends. So,
What, we have enough money in the budget every year to fix things as they break. But that's
That is
really
correct.
about it. So anything when it comes to like replacing some carpet that needs to be replaced or things that just need to be updated, paint, wallpaper, all that stuff, we don't have it. And so I think that's what we're talked about this year is just that continual maintenance that you have to do that's not big enough, cosmetic things in some instances.
we've never, when we've had a unit break or something, we've never not fixed it. I mean, Lance and Paul have always found money if we needed it for something like that.
And I think what Commissioner Hall is getting at is, in the private world, you have to have that money set aside. And oftentimes in the government world, it's kind of Band-Aid.
Break and fix.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
As you move forward, so.
I like that idea now. Well, don't worry, we'll bring back a good budget for you.
Well, so we've done this with IT. So IT has a lot of background equipment you never see. And we call it IT infrastructure, switches and wires in the wall, and Derek can tell you far more about it. But rather than try to budget for that every year, the commissioners, we budgeted between $300,000 and $400,000, I think, every year that just stays and rolls. So he can plan over a multi-year period, and hopefully we never have to touch that amount. And that fixes all these things. I personally would love to see something like that for facilities, just to keep it.
No, we'll take care of that.
Ronnie, it's not like you to underestimate the cost.
Oh, it's not for lack of trying.
I dread the day I underestimate one because it's going to be a bad day. It may be coming though with the changes we're seeing in material costs. I'm sure Commissioner Powell and Commissioner Hall both realize that. And it's hard to price anything nowadays or get them to hold the price. So.
Great.
And the only thing I would just mention is, I know the department's going to come to you, and what we're seeing at this very high level is that percent change over a 2-year period is already at 10%. With just kind of the cost of doing business. So.
Yeah, and 7% of that is just the CPI.
Right.
Yeah, so you're right, it's changed. So we'll make sure that we maintain our goal is to go into it with a zero tax increase and to make sure that we still provide the adequate services. And Pat will get to it in a second, but we have seen You know, we were concerned, I know that you had mentioned that they were worried about November, the housing market, but it's steadily, now at some point in time, it's going to hit that point where it eventually bottoms out. But right now, we're seeing a pretty healthy growth in our revenues. For now.
Yeah.
All right, so are you guys ready to go to revenues?
Yes, sir.
Pat?
Okay, so I'll pick up back in revenues and just tie right into where you were at. That next point is the sales tax. We are still seeing tremendous increases in our sales tax over the same period of time last year. For the 5 months that we've collected so far this year, we're 24% higher than we were last year. Still, it's that online shopping, the increases are coming from the point of sale. So between the online shopping, and I think now that we're seeing the cost of product increases, the CPI increases coming into this as well. So I'm still nervous that either whether the bottom drops out or things just level off back to a normalized level is going to come. I just don't have any idea when that's going to happen. So for the forecast for 2023, I did drop the percent increase down to what our pre-pandemic normal rates were, 3.5% or 2.5% based on the type of sales tax allocation. So we still may overachieve next year, but I'd rather be conservative on this, not knowing when things will normalize. So that's really given us opportunity to do these things that you guys were just talking about putting some other things in our budget that need to be there. Like I said, the Article 46 is expected to increase as well. It's $2.9 million. All that will go toward the RCC Workforce Development Project or Center. We'll issue that debt, looks like in May 2022. We just got an update on when RCC thinks they might have the bids ready to go out. So we're going to be nailing down that day. Well, we will need to update the bank bids on that. This has gotten too far out now. The banks are not going to hold those rates. So we will negotiate and see what we can do with those rates. Other revenue, EMS fees have picked up this year. They're much better. And public health fees have increased as well. So I have increased those by $400,000 and $300,000 respectively in this forecast. And then investment earnings, they're still flat. I know the rates are projected to go up pretty significantly, maybe this year. At this point, we're not achieving what I had estimated for 2022. So I'm going to leave that flat for next year until we can see these rates increase. And that's really all I have baked into this forecast at a high level. I don't know if there's any other questions you have or concerns.
Questions for Pat?
I have one question.
Yes.
She's got for software $750,000. Is the other $250 going to be in the following year? Because on the project sheet we were looking at $1 million.
And yes, that's kind of what we talked about, was either splitting it up over multiple years. Derek, we've talked, different options will have different costs. Some are more upfront and less later, some are less upfront and more as we keep going. So this would be budgeting over 2 years.
So it's kind of just a moving target at this point.
Exactly. He's started to collect some quotes, but that'll be ramping up here pretty soon.
Okay, that's my question.
Any other questions? I think we're good to move on.
Okay, now is, I'm going to keep Pat on the phone. Now is your time to give us kind of direction from staff as far as what your thoughts are, what your ideas are, what you want us to pay attention to, just whatever you have on your mind as far as the budget, how you want us to address it.
All right. Floor is open, gentlemen. Anybody want to go first? Anybody have
Chair?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Cobb.
As I indicated earlier when Ronnie was here, I'm still concerned that we're not setting enough money aside for this capital improvement program and for a reserve replacement. As he said, $1.50 to $2 to $2.50 is what you see around the industry. We're doing $1.05, which I'm thrilled to see we're doing that much now in this newly developed program. But I'd like to see us move closer to that $2 amount as we can. And I'm not saying we can get there this year, but the thing to remember, as we set this money aside, those funds will be there to help pay for parking lots, to help pay for paintings, to help pay for failures in HVAC systems when they happen. So it'll reduce the impact some of these other maintenance things have. So that 187 or 317,000 that he was talking about earlier could be reduced substantially, and those monies come out of that reserve fund each year. So that's something I would like to see personally.
Okay.
Mr. Chair. Anything else from anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to see us work on employee retention and recruitment. if we could. I know that that's been a problem in the past. And, we obviously need our employees. They're the ones that runs this engine. So.
Okay.
I concur with Don.
Okay. I'm good. Yes, sir, Mr. Richards.
One thing, and I don't know if it's going to be on the front burner, but we've often talked about grow your own. And this is in regard to those services that we have difficulty, those positions, like building inspection, like firemen, like EMS. I don't know if there's scope for us to finance those programs in addition to what the school system is doing and what RCC is doing and so forth. But if there's a way to apply monies toward growing our own, when I talk to colleagues, commissioner level colleagues in other counties, same problems. And you know, we lost a building inspector a few weeks ago. It's a big deal, and we should be looking for a pipeline where the personnel the county needs to operate to provide those services that are essential to our operation. So, and perhaps there is a budgetary aspect to that. We might need a robust RCC's budget or something like that. Now, that's an example. I don't really think that at this point. But I do think we need to look at growing our own service people for the county's use ourselves rather than relying on them to drift in from the South Fork.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? Everybody's good? Anything else from staff? From Lance, Paul?
Anybody?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Kind of piggybacking on Commissioner Powell and Commissioner Travis's comment earlier. We didn't really talk that much about the salary study, the 2/3 study
Yes.
that's going on now that we authorized earlier.
Yes.
So that, I'm assuming that's progressing.
That will be progressing, yes. The PTRC will be in the process of doing that. We should have something within this budget, obviously, to make sure that we take care of that. And we want to make sure it's done sooner than later.
Okay. Very good.
Yes, sir.
I just got one, Lance. You know, I've said this before about the county employee benefit package. I really like to see it a little bit better. And that goes in with what Don was saying about retention. I think that's a heavy play for retention. I mean, I know we offer a type of 401k, but we don't do any kind of matches, which I understand, money, but you know, I'd like to see options for the county employees. That plays in a big part of retention for our county employees. I mean, not only salary, of course, but the package that we offer.
Okay. But a lot of times when we look at this and we do the surveys with staff, is, you know, they want to see money in hand right now. They don't, you know, the 401k is certainly appealing, but if they don't, a lot of times it's not often. Yeah, we'll take a look at it.
But, yes, sir.
So, and, you know, with all the talk around this issue right here, I realize that we're in a different time, and, you know, I've had this conversation. A lot of employees do look for what's in their check at the, you know, at the end of the week. That's what they're looking for. But, you know, growing our own is a great thing. I agree with Commissioner Richardson on that. but once we grow them, we can't keep them. The county's losing a pile of money every time we lose one of these guys that we're bringing in and training. And so, I think if we could look at that as the offset to what it's going to, what the cost is to help with the training or to
Sure.
raise the salaries or whatever's needed in these departments. It's probably the only way we're going to solve this issue.
Yeah, it's just, you go here, and I know you guys know it, it's a national, with DSS, it's a difficult time. I mean, we got positions over there, and I'm sure they'll be asking for more positions, but if you can't fill the existing positions, then the new ones, I understand.
It's been going on a problem ever since me and Mark's been on board. We train them, we pay them, I think we pay them pretty good, but then Greensboro comes along offering $20,000 more than what we can offer, so how do you compete with that? And it's always been an argument on, we can't compete with the Joneses, which we can't compete with Guilford because they have so much more sales tax revenue coming in. It's no way we can even match what they're doing. So it's a constant battle with us training them. That's how it's always been, Lance. We train them, they leave. We train them, we leave. It's been going on for ever since I've been commissioner.
But quite frankly, it doesn't do any good for us to compare our people to Burke County. We're not losing them to Burke County, we're losing them to Caswell County.
And Guilford, yeah.
And Guilford County, Forsyth County. So those are the counties that we're gonna have to look at competing with and realizing that they have more sales revenue coming in than we do. So we're gonna have to figure out a way to compete with them.
Okay.
I agree, John.
So, I think you've got everything.
Oh, we got, yeah,
Okay.
no tax increase, right?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't think there's any question about that part of it. Those things that you've heard certainly cost money. And,
Yeah. We'll do the best we can with what we
right,
got.
and we've already got a 10%
I'm sorry.
change over a 2-year period, so.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. When's rebound going to be over?
2020.
2024.
Okay, so we got that, okay.
Yeah, and that, again, that 10% includes the 7%. It might not be that high locally. I mean, that's a southeastern, was it southeastern average?
No, that was the US average. I think the Southeastern was actually 8.2.
So we went for that
We
one.
went the cheapest one.
Before you go, I know we've had a lot of scuttle about radios. I believe my conversation with Rodney Cates, there's one department that may have asked for assistance or may have.
Yeah. Most of them are interested, what I've heard from cases, most are interested in doing their own.
Doing their own thing,
Yes,
and so all the scuttle that's being drummed up is really not there. So that one department, I think in our discussions, we're okay with doing some low-interest loan or something for those that need the assistance.
I think then those are the ones, I think that you only have a handful, because we've got some that, even though they have, say, a 10 cent tax on the fire tax district, that's so small because they have such a small population, the value of population, excuse me, the value of property.
Okay, but that's just one department, it's not half of our departments. A lot of them already had things planned and.
He hasn't heard back from some, but I would say the most he's heard back from are interested in doing their own thing.
Right. Okay.
Have you heard back from the rescue squads?
They
don't get tax revenue.
No, I've not heard.
They get a pretty good chunk of change from us every year.
They get
Too much, 60,000, that's it.
No, they get the convalescent calls, which
They do the convalescent calls, but that,
we haven't.
Yeah, okay. You had something, Mr.
No,
Powell.
I think I'm good, thank you.
Okay. All right. Then, next on our agenda is a closed session in regards to approving minutes and also for discussing with personnel. We have a motion to go into closed session for those things.
we take 5 minutes before.
Sure, I asked earlier. I didn't need one.
Yeah, I didn't need one either.
Well, so if we can go ahead and
Do the motion so Jennifer can record that, then we'll recess for 5
I'll
minutes.
make a motion to go on closed session pursuant to 143-318.
I can have the motion, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
We'll stand in recess for a couple minutes.